Welcome, Kim, and thanks so much for joining me to the show. So let's start from the beginning. So you were not athlete, as everyone, but
Yeah,
then now from no athlete, you arrived to be a GB age group. So how
yeah.
did it start your journey as a triathlete?
Um, well, I when I was younger, I used to do a lot of team sports, and I was quite horsey as well. And I always did a little bit of running. My mum has done 50 marathons, and she used to drag me around to all the races. So I I was very much inspired by my mum, and she encouraged me to do my first ever half marathon, which was 2005, which was the Bath half. And I did that and I thought, oh my God, never again. But for one reason or another, I ended up then doing another marathon and then another marathon. And then I joined the local running club and that progressed and started enjoying it a bit more. And my husband was also a super good runner. So we used to go to places like Paris and do the marathon. It was part of our holiday thing that we used to do together. And then I became injured from running and discovered spinning in the gym. And to cut a long story short, was very much inspired by my spinning instructor, ended up getting a proper road bike and discovered actually I was loads better at cycling than I was at running. And that kind of escalated, entered on a whim. I think I was hungover at the time, this crazy ultra duathlon, which was a 15-mile run, 112 bike, and a 26-mile run across Scotland, ending with an ascent and descent of Ben Nevis. And I'd never done anything like that before, and I ended up doing okay. I was the second female to finish, and that was when I discovered that I had a talent, perhaps, or a mental strength for just going a really long way for a long period of time. And then off the back of that, I entered to do an Ironman, but without really being able to swim. My mum had encouraged me to do that, thinking that she said to me, "Oh, you were great at swimming when you were little," but she got me confused with one of my siblings, and it turned out I couldn't swim 10 meters of front crawl. So I quite quickly had to learn, and despite my poor swimming skills, I ended up doing okay in the Ironman UK last year. I came fifth in my age group, and as a consequence of that, qualified to represent the country in long distance triathlon. But yeah, unfortunately, I was unable to complete the event I was entered for due to injury. So that was a very brief summary that kind of covers from.
Tell me more about the swimming. I'm so interested because I speak with so many triathletes, and the majority I speak, they are champion, but the majority they start actually. They said actually my swimming was the poorest. The one that had the skill that I had to start more or less from the beginning. So how was it for you?
So it was probably the most mentally challenging and continues to be the most mentally challenging thing. There's so much to the technique, and if that's not inherent and you haven't done that from a small child, then it's quite a difficult thing to grasp, particularly if you have tight hips and ankles from someone that's done a lot of running and cycling. And yeah, it was a real struggle. I met my coach as a consequence of me wanting to learn to swim. He is a triathlon coach, but I started seeing him for swimming. And, there's a lot of patience from him, and he gave me a really good plan. And it was just sheer perseverance. And it's been 18 months that I've been swimming now, and it's only now that things are really starting to
So
click.
from when you decided to do your first, okay, you were a runner, then a cyclist, then duathlon, and now triathlon. So when it started exactly the day that you said, okay, I will start to do, this will be my first race. Which race was it? And how long it took to prepare from when you were able to swim but just a little bit to actually to race?
Well, I entered the Ironman within a week of completing the duathlon in Scotland. And I think I was still high on the endorphins and just felt like I could do anything. And Ironman is such a iconic brand and thing and challenge. And I just wanted to see if I could do it. That was in the end of July. I got in the pool in the August, and that was when I realised that I really had my work cut out with the swim. And I remember in the December thinking, oh my God, I still can't really swim the length of the pool confidently. And I've only got another 6 months before I'm doing an Ironman. And my coach was great. He was very reassuring. He's like, don't worry. It's going to come together. It will come. And we just kept working at it and chipping away. And I remember doing my first ever freshwater swim in the May. So I literally had 2 months of lake swimming. But yeah, I literally did throw myself in the deep end. I did my first triathlon in the May, which was an Olympic distance, and then I did a half Ironman in the June, and then I did my full Ironman in the July. So it was actually only my third ever triathlon.
My God, that's incredible. I was also thinking about that you did the Olympic, then 70.3, and then after just a month, you did the Ironman. I mean, the full length. So, it's impressive. Also recovering between. I don't know how you did it.
Yeah, I think maybe I was a little bit naive. But I had good advice. My coach is, he's brilliant. He's been there and done it.
How long you had to do, how much swimming you were doing a week?
So I was swimming probably, it was around 3 or 4 times a week consistently. But the distance, in terms of emulating that Ironman distance, only happened quite close to the event. With the guidance of my coach, what I was doing was actually building up to a high volume day in, day out, and never really emulating anywhere near that full distance that you're going to do. But because you've got that higher load, week in, week out, and that consistency, you've then built the endurance, and then that suddenly falls away on the taper, and then you're good to go. So that was quite interesting as well. And I think also the combination of the different sports really helped me mentally, but also more so physically in terms of keeping injury free.
I know that in 2018 you took an award from your coach, the Coach Athletes of the Year. So what makes a good student?
Well, he'd probably be the best place to answer that. But the thing, when I was given the award, it was at our team Christmas do, and the thing that he picked up on was listening to his guidance, but ultimately it's about making the decisions and the right decisions myself. And it was a very quick journey. When I entered the Ironman, I never anticipated that I would get into it and achieve what I did. And as time passed on in my run up to it, I started to realize that actually I could do really well, and that I'd unlocked a talent perhaps, but most importantly, I really enjoyed it. If I didn't enjoy it, I wouldn't have gone for it in that way. And I made decisions which, ultimately then had a big impact on how well I performed. And, that would be sacrificing my normal life, and also financially committing as well. Like buying a time trial bike was a massive thing, and an unlocker of that talent as well. And I was very lucky to be in a position to be able to do that. But I think I did go with the flow to a degree, but also there were key moments where I thought, actually, I'm really loving this, and actually I could do something great. And having someone there that believed in me as well and was giving me the right guidance was super important too. But ultimately, yeah, I made those decisions and just cracked on with it. And I was also very lucky. You know, there's so many things that can go wrong leading up to the event, during the event. So I fully appreciate that, you know, luck was really on my side. Although saying that, I actually crashed during the race. I crashed into a stone wall sideways at mile 10 of the Ironman, and I thought it was all over from that moment. But my bike was okay. I thought I was okay, but I found out at the end of the race that I actually had cracked ribs. And I
Oh,
completed all of the bike and then a marathon run with cracked ribs, but I was so in the zone, all the adrenaline, it didn't hurt. I couldn't feel anything. So yeah.
it's amazing how you can feel invincible.
Yeah.
Just really the human nature, it just create these endorphins inside our body and definitely give you the sprint and the strength to keep going.
Absolutely. And I think positive thinking as well is so important. It sounds really cheesy, but when I had the crash on the bike and I continued in the race, I wasn't sure if I would be able to run at the end, because when I got out the saddle on the hills, my hip did hurt and it was painful in places, and I just didn't know. So when I got off the bike in the end and started running and I felt okay, I was so happy that I could run, and I just knew from that moment I was going to have a really good run, and I just felt so happy and lucky and privileged to be in that position, and I just enjoyed it. And because you do laps in the Ironman, and every lap I was just growing in confidence, and I finished feeling good and happy, and I think all of that stuff, was really important too.
That's fantastic. So speaking about coaches, how did you choose your coach? If somebody wants to find the right coach, which are the key points?
Well, he did come as a recommendation to me. So I did briefly work as a contractor for the Global Triathlon Network, and I used to sit next to Heather Fell, who's ex-Olympian, silver medalist, and she had also transferred into triathlon, and she actually recommended him as a swimming coach. But when I first met him, it was always with the intention of swimming, and I didn't really know where it was going to lead to. But you need to have a chemistry, and you need to trust each other, and it's like any relationship, really. You get out of it what you put in, but also you need to be aligned in how you are for that to really truly work. So I was very lucky that I found him. And we had a good rapport, and it's just continued to work out. And funnily enough, my husband's now started seeing him too and feeling the benefits. So
Fantastic, even better. Now you coach both of you. There is competition between you and your husband, who is doing best.
Interesting, because we're two completely different people.
But I think that's good that you are different people. Otherwise, that would be awkward.
Sure.
I know that you're just recovering from a fracture. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. So I qualified for the World Championships long distance to represent Great Britain, and I was training for that. And back in beginning of February, I had a hard couple of weeks training, and the weather was really super cold, and I was very guilty of just being really wrapped up in my world of training and wanting to push for better, faster all the time. And I felt super tired. I work a normal 9 to 5:30 job 5 days a week. And I just wasn't really honest with myself. I didn't talk to my coach. I didn't tell him how I felt, and I just kept pushing myself. And I think a combination of those things, and then a very long run out in the snow resulted in my body just suddenly saying no. And at first we thought it was just a muscular thing, but then it turned out that I had actually given myself a stress fracture from overtraining. And it was super hard because there was that period of the unknown, like, am I going to get better in time? Am I, what exactly is going on? To not being able to do what I love doing at a very basic level. And then finally I had to make the decision of pulling out and pulling out of the World Championships. And once I had done that, I then could move on and come to terms with just focusing on getting better. And I'm entered for Ironman Italy in September, and just getting better for that. But I must admit, there were 2 months where I think I was probably depressed. It was, I felt like I didn't want to talk to anybody. I was so angry at myself. I was super disappointed because actually representing the country had been something that was on my mind pre even doing the Ironman. So yeah, it was a big thing to come to terms with, but just focusing on getting better, looking after myself, and also enabled me to focus on swimming, which was my weakness. And that really helped me just get through that period and reset my mind, really. During that time, I wrote myself a list of 20 things that I've learned from this situation. And I remind myself of that list on a weekly basis. And I try and think about it as well when I'm going for a little run or I'm going for a bike ride now, because I'm back getting into the swing of things, is just reminding myself of what's the most important thing to me. And actually that is just being able to go out there and use my body and do those things, and to just be really super cautious about pushing things too hard and getting too wrapped up in the whole competition thing.
So this list that you made, it was in the moment that you were in the dark moment of
Yeah.
So do you think so? Is the moment that they unlock something that you were able to sit down, think about, and try to find a solution, and that it was the way how you came out?
Yeah, well, I just thought you've got to learn, because part of my sadness, I guess, was frustration because I caused this situation, and I thought mistakes and things not going to plan are what you learn from, and you come back stronger. But just make sure that you learn from them. So I was super intent on making sure that that's what happened, and it also just helped me come to terms with it all as well. I guess in its purest sense, it was mindfulness, being mindful of how I felt, how why I was in that situation, and actually what was truly important to me going forward.
So you're speaking about mindfulness. So did you done some meditation?
I did actually try, because I'm quite. People would probably describe me as quite a bubbly, positive person, and I was quite the opposite during that period. And at work, someone recommended to me that I use a mindfulness app, and I'd never really done meditation before, but they had a number of different courses on that. I can't remember what it's called now, but they had a number of different sessions on there, and they had sessions dealing with pain, dealing with change, and I did use them for a bit, and actually it did help. It did just help me switch off a bit, and yeah.
Another interesting point that I think you said that you were speaking about. Connecting with your body and started to understand. So you were not initially listening to your body, what he was telling you and shouting to you. Yeah. So you end up to be injured. So from that, what did you learn, and how do you now are able to take the right decision without any frustration inside of you, because one of the most frustrating thing is for example, the recovery day. And I more and more speak with athletes. The recovery day is not considered a day that you want to even look at at all, because you're just like, oh, that is a waste of time, but it's not.
Yeah, it's when you're so used to moving all the time, it's quite a difficult thing to come to terms with, is being, having those days off or having those easy recovery sessions. And I think the advice that I would give, and it's not always easy to listen to your own advice, but is listen to your body when it's whispering, not when it's shouting. And my husband, he's does a lot of running and cycling, and it's quite useful that we kind of challenge each other on some of our decisions. And something we often say to each other is, if I was telling you this right now about how I feel, what advice would you give me? And then just listen to that yourself. And it's such a hard thing to do when you're really into your sport, because you just want to push for better, faster, stronger all the time. But actually, it's coming to terms with the fact that more is not always more, and you have to think about what you have to lose and what you have to gain. And actually, if you really ask yourself that question when you're at the peak of those moments in your training and you're feeling tired, etc., the right decision is normally to just back off. It's just not worth the risk. Back off and spring back harder another day.
And it's kind of interesting because, you're absolutely right. You have to listen to your body. And I love when you said, listen when it's whispered to you, not when it's shouting to you. And you are absolutely right. And this is what we all do, that mistake. We normally listen to when actually it's not even shouting, when it's too late, when it's not even to shouting at all because it's broken. So this connection with mind, body, you're vegan. So when did you start to be a vegan? How did the connection with being a vegan and the body, how is this relation now?
So I've been a vegan for a few years now, and really inspired. I was inspired at first by my little brother. He works in motorsport, and he wanted to offset his impact on the environment, and he wasn't that into nutrition. He was continues to be one of those people that would forget to eat, which I don't know how that's possible, but he really, because I helped him with the nutritional side of things, because it was something that I've educated myself on over the past 5 to 8 years. And through that process, just really started thinking a bit more about the impact of a traditional diet which features animal products, and made the decision to go vegan. And that was very much based on ethical reasons rather than nutritional reasons in the first instance. And because of that, it just felt like a really easy thing to do. It was like something had just switched in my brain. And actually, ethical reasons aside, it is undoubtedly a very healthy way of nourishing your body if you do it well and do it right. But I must say that the benefits that I have felt through following a vegan lifestyle, it's a lot of it is mental, in terms of I feel more relaxed, at one, peaceful, which I know sounds a bit hippie, but it really is true. I feel good that I'm treading lightly, but from a performance point of view, the benefits on how you absorb nutrition, and it being much less stressful on your system when you're putting your body under a number of other stresses, in terms of cycling for 100 miles or whatever, that is well documented, and I've very much felt that. And my husband followed me down the vegan path not long after I started, and he also has, very much felt that benefit, despite having some initial reservations that it may impact his performance, as he just he turned 45 last year, and he equaled his marathon PB a couple of weeks ago, 2:42, and he managed to have 10K PB since turning vegan, so even despite him getting older, his performance is improving, and he looks healthier and stronger than ever on a vegan diet. So yeah.
Do you think so also the recovery, because I'm vegan too, so I notice also the recovery is way faster. Are you experiencing the same?
It's been such a long time for me now. I can't really remember that well, but I think, based on what I've managed to achieve and how I've managed to bounce back, despite getting a bit older as well, I do genuinely think that is the case. And my husband certainly commented on it as well. But that's on the provision that you are giving yourself the right things at the time and afterwards, and not taking shortcuts, and making sure that you really understand the nutrition you need and where you're going to get that from.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, in reality, I'm vegetarian from my entire life, but already from vegetarian to vegan, I see a lot of difference. It's pretty noticeable, and it's incredible how many now athletes they are turning vegan. Despite that there are also a lot that are not. But thinking about the biggest animal on earth that they are vegan, if you think about, hippos or giraffes, they are so strong, but at the same time they are vegan. So it's not linked as much just on the proteins, animal proteins. You joined also the Vegan Runner UK, is that right? I saw on social media with the guys of the Vegan Runner.
Yes. So I joined them about almost a year ago. I saw them at Veg Fest, which is a vegan festival in Bristol. That my brother-in-law was, my brother and my sister-in-law were launching a vegan sweet potato based bread. And I was there with them, and I bumped into the vegan runners, and I've seen them around at park runs. And I just think it's a really positive message that they're spreading, that they're showing. The ethos of them is, actually, if you're vegan, it's not a compromise on your health. We can run, all of these things. And it's just a really positive thing to be doing. So I joined up, and my husband and we did a few runs with them, and there was a big event in December last year where we went to Forest Green Rovers, which is owned by Dale Vince, of Ecotricity, and the whole football club is vegan, the players, the food at the stadium, and we had a brilliant day out there, and met so many other vegan runners from all different walks of life and different levels of fitness, and it was just a really positive message. And whenever I do run for Team Bath, but whenever I'm doing a park run or a similar kind of event, I'll always put on my vegan runner vest, because it's just about putting the message out there and reinforcing the positive benefits of a vegan lifestyle.
Yeah, it's very nice what you are doing. Actually, I want also to thank you for being one of our first customer because you started to be our customer from. I mean, do you remember when you came across 33 Shake?
Yeah, I do. I was on the train to work. I used to work in Bristol, and I was on the train reading the Metro newspaper, and I saw an article about 33 Shake, and I just never really heard of anything like that before. And at the time, I can't remember which marathon. I was training for a marathon. It may have been Paris, and I was just super interested in the product. And interestingly, my elder sister who lives in Spain, she's a really good runner, and she'd also heard about 33 Shake as well. And we kind of cottoned on at the same time. And yeah, I bought the shakes to use like in the build up to a big race and then afterwards as well. Particularly when you're going abroad, it's great to be able to have that little pocket of power there that's really convenient that you can have pre and post. So yeah, I became an advocate very early on, and when you launched the gels, I pretty much converted immediately because I mean this was pre me following a vegan lifestyle actually, but I did find that I would get quite ill off of traditional sports products. I've always had quite a natural, for want of a better phrase, clean diet, like, you know, lots of fruit, veg, and I've never really had a sweet tooth or been into sweets or anything like that. So it wasn't a surprise really that those products didn't suit me very well. But yeah, so once you introduced the gels, I was onto them straight away too.
Well, I have to say, especially, you know, sport nutrition as is seen, it looks like always so healthy with a lot of science behind. But in reality, if you start to read the labels, you just realize how unhealthy they are and how much sugar and how much still the sport nutrition company, they tend you to advise you to consume the quantity that is unbelievable. And that, so thanks so much to be one of our first customer. It's incredible because the article you are speaking about, I know exactly which is that. We have so many articles because we came out on a lot of magazine, you know, about running, but the Metro one I do remember because it was exactly when it was the closing day of the Olympics here in London. And I do remember because we just said, Warren, he just wrote this article about one of his races. I think it was the UTMB. Yeah. And how he was basically fueling his body during the ultra or the UTMB. And yeah, so it's thanks so much to be part of this revolution where we are trying to do with 33 Shake and bringing, you know, changing sport nutrition and making athletes and people that they like to do sport aware about, read the labels, see what you are putting inside your body, and then you can understand also the full potential of your performance because you are not, you know, you don't have stomach ache or stop your race because you don't feel well or because you bonk basically. Yeah. So you have this kind of spikes and then crash.
I've got a little rule. If I can't pronounce it and I don't know where it comes from, I probably shouldn't put it in my body.
That's the way how to do it, and this is a very good advice because it's exactly like that. We always should read our labels, figure out what it is, and listen to your body. If your body says I agree with this, it's fine. But if it says I'm not agreeing, why we have to read on the labels? You know, like train your stomach, train your gut. Realistically, if I eat an apple or a banana, do I have to train my body to digest it? No, so you know. So thanks so much to bring so much to the show. And if people they want to know more about you, where they can find you?
Oh, well, my Instagram feed has got quite a funny name. It's at Kimbo Wop Wop. That's probably the best place to see what I'm up to. I have been a little bit quiet since I've been injured and coming back from injury. But now as I'm getting back into the swing of things, I'll be a bit more regular in terms of my updates and what I'm up to with my training and my next challenges. So
yeah, fantastic. We all wanted to know and follow you because, you know, you're a very inspirational triathlete. I really find that, you know, people like you, they can tell a story and they can tell their adventure. And there was an adventure and there is talent there. It's something that is inspirational for everyone. So please keep doing it. keep us informed of what you are doing.
Thank you for giving me all the energy to do these things.
It's a exchange, it's an
Yeah,
exchange.
it's an exchange.
So thanks so much, Kim, and enjoy. Which it would be, so your next race, it will be in Italy, you told me, no? Is an Ironman.
So my next big race is Ironman Italy, but next month I'm doing a triathlon relay, a middle distance triathlon with my two sisters. My younger sister's doing the swim, I'm doing the bike, and my elder sister's doing the run. So that's my first proper competition since being injured. So I'm really excited about that.
That's very exciting. That's all a full family. I hope your mother, she will be there.
Yeah, she will. It's all her fault. She's inspired all of us. So
I can see. So enjoy your challenge with your sisters, and enjoy the Ironman in Italy. As you know, I'm Italian, so I will think about you when you're doing it.
thank you.
So enjoy, and thanks so much to be part of the show today.
Thank you so much.
I hope you enjoyed this episode as I did while I was recording it. Sharing tools and making an all-natural sport nutrition is our mission. You can find us at 33shake.com. Thanks for joining in.